Hello and welcome back to another DF Retro Pickups, this time for the month of July. So it's a hot summer full of hot pickups, and I'm here with Audi Surly to talk about them.
And it is hot. I am sweating. I've showered like twice today. I feel awful, but I'm very happy to be here to talk about our retro pickups, which are indeed hot.
They
this
are
month.
indeed. So
I guess it's technically June, because these games arrived in June for me at least.
actually, you're right. Well, it's mixed for me. I've had some a couple that showed up in July.
One of them
You're
arrived.
right.
Okay, one of them arrived yesterday, so let's just say it's the cumulative.
Cumulative, exactly.
Pickups, yeah.
This is, it's because video comes out in July, so this is the July episode. So let's get into it. Since I'm hosting, though, I'm gonna let you go first. What's your first pick today?
Well, I had to pick it up because it was cheap, but
I love saying that.
As usual, I pick up things.
It's my line.
They're cheap,
sometimes.
but it is RoboCop on Famicom. Nothing new about this. It's the same game from Data East. But I actually do enjoy this game quite a bit.
Right,
and
yeah.
I enjoy RoboCop games overall quite a bit, depending on which one. There's even two really good Spectrum RoboCops, RoboCop 1 and 2.
Wow, okay.
So
They got to be real good for you to praise a Spectrum game.
I know,
Let's be
right?
honest.
I think one day we have to take a closer look at the history of RoboCop video games. But yeah, I just saw this. I love RoboCop.
I like the cover.
think-
I mean, it's RoboCop art that you know and love, but it looks awesome on that box like that. That's just
It's
it's
very
well
clean.
framed. It's cool.
Yeah. I love the form factor of these Famicom
me too.
boxes, man.
They're so awesome.
Yeah, it's Deco, Data East.
Of course.
So
Data East
that was my
Corporation.
first one. Very short, so we're jumping straight to you.
So, with that said, you know what? I'm going to go with a Famicom game as well. And I think you know this one because you're the one that said, dude, look at this price. You must purchase this game immediately. And you know what I did? I purchased it immediately. It's Getsu Fumiden, the Famicom game from Konami. I think this shares some lineage with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first game.
It absolutely does. It
And,
is the very same team, and it is kind of based on the work that they did for Ninja Turtles.
So
and
if you guys can see, it's hard to see on camera maybe, but this has a lenticular cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Which is unusual for this, actually. I've never seen this on a Famicom box. But yeah,
I've seen it on Mega Drive. Cutie Suzuki, Wrestling Angel.
Ringside Angels
that
has it for sure.
There.
But yeah, so this is another. So I don't have nearly as many Famicom games as you. That is for sure. But I've have a decent collection of them now, and I'd say like 2/3 of my box Famicom games are Konami. So I'm building a Konami collection because I love a lot of their games in there, and I was really happy to get this one because it is a cool game, and it's actually more optimized than the Turtles game. Like, it just shares similarities.
Much more.
This runs at a smooth 60 frames per second now, unlike Turtles, which is very choppy. The action is smoother, and I've always wondered, like, what if they had continued down the rabbit hole or the path of that original TMNT game and made a sequel. I feel like it would have been derived from this game then.
It would have been this, because this was the work they started. They actually started to work on this in the middle of Ninja Turtles, or like towards the end. And the idea was to make it a arcade game, because at the same time Namco had I forget what that Namco game is called, but it's with the ghost Oni with like the red hair. There's a PC Engine port.
I have that game actually. Yeah, I forget what it's called though.
Yeah,
but yes, I know what you mean.
We'll superimpose it here with the footage. But so this game is basically a variation of that formula, and kind of taking, and then it was turned into a Famicom game, because I don't think the base code applied too well on arcades. So
no, of course. So yeah, and of course, on top of that, this is a game that Konami is somehow like remaking or doing a sequel.
Somehow,
like somehow. I don't understand why that happened, but it looks interesting. I am actually kind of hopeful for it, and if that actually hits, I'm sure we'll be doing something here on the channel. with it because
The
why not?
Retro EX would be perfect for that.
I agree. We will absolutely do that when the time comes. So look out for that. But
I was very happy I found you a copy of that game because
I appreciate that.
Quite expensive.
Yeah,
quite expensive.
Without getting into the price stuff, because I don't want to cause prices to go up or down based on our videos. You basically found this for about half the cost it typically goes for.
Yes.
Which
and in really good shape. That's the problem.
Almost like pristine.
You'll find mostly cartridges of Getsufuma Den because the lenticular cover is a little bit sensitive. And gets a lot of dirt on it quickly, so people throw away that box in Japan. I've actually asked some people when I was in Japan regarding
this. It's a shame.
It is finding that in good condition, very difficult these days. But
absolutely.
I know Triforce also
from My Life in
picked
Gaming
up recently, but he did get the
cartridge. Yeah, he does seem to go a lot for cartridge only. I find, which
I only have box Famicom games.
I have a hard time.
I don't have a single.
The only system I can go cartridge. Well, there's two I go cartridge only on sometimes: Game Boy and Super NES North American cartridges.
I'm the exact same
because
those for those two.
I'm okay with those, but literally everything else, I want the full box.
I'd say NES as well, like US or
actually
PAL,
yeah.
NES.
Actually, you're right. For Famicom though,
it's just, they stack well. I think that's the thing.
They look good on a shelf, just as the carts, right? In a way that a lot of the other formats labels.
Don't. Yeah, you're probably right. So yeah,
the same is not true of N64. It doesn't have those end labels, and it doesn't. I do have some loose carts, and it's kind of a pain.
I bought end labels for my N64 carts on Etsy. Someone made professionally looking end labels for all the games. So if you have loose N64 games, go on Etsy, search for N64 labels, get your region, and it actually helps a lot with my N64 collection to have those end labels.
I'll have to look that up.
Really good.
Because I could use that. All right, so what's next on your list here?
Well, brother, because of our DF Retro, I had to get it. I got...
Oh, you actually got it! Yes!
So I got there are actually two variations of this game. I got the original. They did, in fact, do a reprint with a worse cover.
Oh, no.
But I got the first print.
You think you're amazing at Mahjong, brother?
Well, we got to go Mahjong all night. So... yeah, again, not much to say because I will never play this again. I think it will actually this one I might play again.
This is the kind of
so cool.
See, for me, this is the kind of game where like when you have a visitor stop by and they're checking out some games, and you're just like, look at this one.
Put this on.
Just put this in, and then you
want to play Mario Party or Mazen Mahjong Station. The answer is always going to be Mahjong Station.
Dude, it's all about that. Yeah, I actually need to buy a copy of this too because it's a.
Oh, it's a cheap one. This was SLPS 00005, as mentioned in our video.
Yep.
So, and still has the blue PlayStation label.
So the question is, I hope your next pick is Mahjong Goku Tenji.
No, it will never be, because it's so boring. And I could actually, on eBay, I could not find that other than for PCFX, and it's like $200 on PCFX.
What the heck? Oh, man.
So it's one of the PCFX games that also comes in like this gigantic shock box, bigger than the Neo Geo ones, even though it's in a jewel case inside. That's right. So, yeah, don't expect that on my next retro pickup.
All right.
But
so
Mazen brother.
Just Maz. I love it. That's when we released our first episode of the PlayStation video, Shu Yoshida from PlayStation commented to us,
reached out to us about it,
and he loved the video, and I was surprised that of the two games he mentioned, that was one of them. Tama and this and Mahjong Station.
Yeah, I think he said that at the time he was the financial director.
No, it was like an account manager or something for.
Yeah, account manager. Sorry, financial director. Well,
I see where you're getting. Yeah.
Yeah. I confused the Norwegian word for it. Yeah, he was the account manager for Tama and Mazen. So.
Yeah, so I understand that. And you know what?
As of today, he shared our part 2. so he's still watching.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're watching that too.
And I talked to him today.
Oh
So
wow, I need to check that out. That's great. I'm happy to see
yeah.
that those folks are watching it. But yeah, okay, that's cool. Well, anyway, moving on. Actually, yeah, I was gonna say staying with Japanese-made games, and I realize all of mine are. I'm gonna go with this next one, and this one is it's a PC Engine game that I'm quite fond of. I have this on Super NES, but I didn't have this original one. The sequel, I guess you could say. This is from Taito. It's Kiki Kai Kai, the original one for PC Engine, and this is a very cool. So this is essentially like a top-down action shooter, but you play as this girl, basically throwing these like spiritual cards at the enemies, kind of, right. So it is kind of like Ikari Warriors or like that genre of like shooter, but without the military dude bros. It's much more like mystical yokai and very Japanese style, but in typical Taito fashion, it has very excellent music. Uh,
Yes.
Excellent, it feels great. It plays really well. Nice level design. This original one, playing some of it, I do feel like the Super NES games definitely got better,
Yeah.
which is consistent with other series like Ninja Warriors. Like Ninja Warriors again was really good on Super NES, and
Did you ever play the Famicom Disk System version?
of Kiki Kai Kai. I
Yeah.
feel I feel like I must have when we did
I
that
think
Famicom Disk
yeah,
System video. I feel like we did.
yeah, that's the very first DF regular video I ever did was the Famicom Disk System video. That
You were
was right
here.
after Bubsy.
That's right. It was really hot when we made that video,
Yes, extremely hot.
but that was
So
fun.
we were dying.
But
It
yeah,
was
so
during pre big heat wave.
it was, yeah, 2 years ago. It's good
Yep.
times. I need to actually go back and look at that version though, because I can't quite remember. I suspect it's not on par with the PC Engine version though. The
No.
PC Engine version looks quite good, like really nice sprite work, and it's very fluid and it looks nice. And um, I mean, PC Engine in general is just awesome. It's such a neat little system. So
I love
definitely,
collecting for it.
definitely a great game to check out. And yes, of course, I love how they come in these like jewel cases, these custom jewel cases. But within, of course, you have the wonderful Hue cards, which is one of my favorite media formats for game consoles. Just such a cool thing. And you know what?
Do
I
you have
found out
any
Triforce
Master
collects
System
these loose
cards?
too.
Yes,
I
he does.
I do have one Master System card.
Hmm.
It's like an Afterburner maybe, or no, I can't remember what it was, but it's like a Sega My card.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is though, because I don't really collect those because I don't have a way to play the cards, because I use the what is it, the power, it's like not the power base converter itself, but the third party one with the FM chip or whatever in it.
Yeah, the one you can get like Stone Age.
Yeah, that's the one I use, which you can use Master
Right.
System carts on, but you can't use the actual like cards with that one.
Right.
So I don't really collect those, but you're right, it is kind of the same tech, isn't it?
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, Kiki Kai Kai, Getsu Fumaden, two very Japanese games, but they're very awesome. Okay, what's next on your list, my man?
Well, this is one I picked up because I am working on a book currently. I'm working on two books, but
Oh,
this one is for one of them. And it's been elusive to say the least for many, many
oh,
years before any, like way before you and I started talking, collecting, and whatnot. Like, I think I've been looking for this since the mid 2000s,
oh,
and finally found a copy. It's not in the best shape, but I've never seen it to begin with, so I didn't care
wow.
about the shape.
Okay.
It is Jackie Chan in the Protector on the MSX. So this was a uh,
Whoa.
licensed game from Pone Canyon, based on the Protector, and the Protector was a Jackie movie, where he is a detective in New York, and was kind of one of the movies they tried to do for him to break out in the U.S. market in the 80s. So it has a lot of cursing and nudity and all these things you generally do not see in a Jackie film. And they made a game based of it. It's part of a series where it is Spartan X, this one, Project A, and one more, Project A2. So I have all of them now.
Wow.
And Police Story. Police Story 2 was also in this Pony Canyon series.
So as an MSX game, is that a cartridge or what's the format?
So this one is the cartridge. I can show it to you.
Okay.
The other games are actually on cassette. But this one is a cartridge.
Oh, that's nice.
And the interesting thing here is that the bottom doesn't look like it has a connector. I don't think you can see too well. But if you push it in,
so it's actually
the connector comes out.
So they put like a spring mechanism to protect the connector.
Yes,
that's pretty cool, actually.
So Pony Canyon releases on MSX are generally pretty high quality in terms of cartridges and boxes and whatnot. But as I said, I could never find this box ever. I've never seen it with my own eyes until I saw the listing for it. And there was an eBay seller that just suddenly had it from Spain, of all places.
From Spain? So, wow. Yep. I love that when some of the stuff just shows up in a random place you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. So this goes into my book because the book is about Hong Kong action cinema influencing video games. So it's
that sounds great.
Relevant to that.
Cool. Okay, well, my next pick is nowhere near that exciting, I have to admit. And this one it's kind of funny. It's Wrinkle River Story, or as you like to call it.
Oh, you actually said it right.
Linkle Liver Story.
That's Linkle Liver Story, which
I think it's pretty widely known that even though this is written on the box, this was an unintentional error based on what's actually.
You'd be surprised how many people do not know that, but I think now with the fan translation coming out,
it should be corrected. Oh yeah, that's right. It did come out.
I think people get the connection more. So it has to do with the LNR thing in Japanese language being localized. But the actual game has a story about a river that wrinkles through the land.
Exactly.
So it is Wrinkle River Story.
And despite the whole confusion around the name, the game itself is pretty cool. So it's from Nextech.
Fantastic.
Who would go on to make Code Veronica. But also they did, what was the Mega Drive game that I also have? They're actually... Regnicenti. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
They did Regnicenti first, which is Zelda-ish. It's not really...
Crusaders of Zenti.
Yes, that's right. And then it was also called like Soleil in Europe, so it had a different name in every territory. So what is it with these games and like naming things? I don't know. Like,
I actually prefer Soleil of any of them. I think that's the coolest name. Like Regnicenti is kind of.
I see why they changed that. It's a little bit.
And then Crusaders of Zenti makes it sound too fantasy-like, whereas Soleil has that perfect kind of like, I don't know.
I agree.
It just sounds cooler.
It's cool.
I wish I could buy a copy of it, but all the Soleil copies are in Deutsch only.
I know, that sucks. But, so, Wrinkle River, it is still an action RPG overhead, but obviously being on the Saturn has huge, very well animated sprites, and the world itself is also gorgeous. And they made an annoying trade-off, though. The frame rate is only 30 frames per second instead of 60, and I think it's because they wanted to have these like 3D elements in the game. Mm-hmm. And even though the frame rate takes a hit, it does look cool. Like all the trees are actually like modeled with like leaves and everything, and they kind of move around in 3D to give some extra perspective on top of the otherwise pixel art backgrounds. It's a neat effect. So yeah, I mean it's an absolutely gorgeous action RPG for the Saturn, and if you haven't played it, you can either play the original version, or it sounds like the fan translation is out there, which in that case I started playing that this week. I was having fun with it. It's a cool game for sure, so I'm happy to finally have picked up a copy of that.
Yeah, it's a really good game, and absolutely the completed fan translation is out there, so
that's awesome.
I'm sure if people know how to make those work, they can.
Absolutely. All right. So, what's your number 4?
I'm gonna for my number 4, I'm gonna do a twofer. I'm cheating a little bit, but because they kind of go into the same territory, I'll cheat a bit. But You know, John, I love to pick up these new games for old consoles, so I picked up two. I picked up one for one for NES, and then one for Super Nintendo. So let's start with the
Okay.
Super Nintendo one.
All right.
It is Taco Princess from the Moon. It was called Neko Taco in Japan. It was released last year for Super Famicom, and kind of shadow dropped it in English on Amazon. For like that's the only place you can get it. This on Amazon.com.
Neko
So I was
Taco?
like,
Is it like
yeah,
octopus or something or what?
yes, that's
Oh.
exactly what it is.
Okay.
So, and it's a really beautiful, fun, quirky like platformer action
Oh wow.
with a
Okay.
lot of cats and good
Yeah.
music. I actually picked up in Japan. I picked up the Super Famicom game with the soundtrack CD. So I have both the Japanese and American version now. But I had no
Oh.
idea they were doing a Super Nintendo copy,
I
and this is number 36. And I picked this up having not realized it existed, and it released in February. So if this is number 36,
what the heck?
I suppose they're still on pretty low numbers. But yeah, I would suggest for anyone who's into modern retro games, I guess you could call them.
I need to check this out.
This one is a
Actually.
really good one to pick up. This is a very good one to pick up. And I suspect this will be quite rare based on the low numbering. But who knows?
Yeah, I'll have to look for a copy myself. That sounds cool. I'll give it
And
a
then
look.
Gold Guardian Gun Girl is for the NES. And this is from the same company, or person, I should say. But it was published by Neo Delfino, who also did, if you watch, John and I did a video where we took 3 impressive Famicom games and talked about them. And the last
fun.
game was Haradius
Zero. Yeah. Which was awesome.
And Neo Delfino put out the American version of Haradius Zero. This is from Good Tune, which is a different developer, but it's like an overhead shooter. I'm talking about Kiki Kai Kai.
Oh wow, okay.
And it has been very difficult to get a copy of this in Japan because all of the Famicom carts were handmade by the developer.
Oh my god.
So I managed to get a copy of the Japanese one, but this American one was a little bit easier, but I think only 150 were produced. So, but the build quality is pretty good. You know, it has this little nice... the label glue isn't too good, but I want to show off the actual cartridge if I can get it loose. There you go. It has this
Ooh, I like that.
transparent
Yeah,
red
that's nice.
cartridge. And I can actually see here it says that it's from Infinite Lives, who are very, very good at producing PCBs for NES games.
They used a high quality one then.
Very high quality.
Excellent.
Probably the best. So yeah,
All
John
right.
knows too well that I love these types of releases.
Oh, yeah.
So it's always fun when they do come, and I like the big plastic shock box.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, I like it.
Yeah. So 2 good modern games. I think at least Taco Princess from the Moon. Go on Amazon, pick it up. Gold Guardian Gun Girls. It was on sale at the video game stage. I don't know what the stock is for that one.
Well,
but
if anybody's interested, I guess you can go check it out and see if there's any more left.
Yeah.
So
support modern developers.
yes, these classic platforms. That's really cool. All right. Well, for me, the next one, I remain firmly entrenched in the Sega Saturn world. And this one is both awesome and hilarious at the same time. So it's Wangan Dead Hito. So
Wangan Dead Heat, yeah.
So yeah, so this is
the regular version?
Yeah, it's just a regular.
Yeah.
So this is actually from Genki, who would
Yep.
So unfortunately they did do Kilik the Blood. But they also did a lot of great racing games, and I feel like their racing games were typically much better than their first-person games.
Tokyo Extreme Racer,
yeah.
was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
They did all those.
Those were great.
Absolutely. So
the Burning Soldier on 3DO.
They did that, yeah. They did Super Magnetic Neo on Dreamcast, which I actually do like.
Yeah. Well, you like that game a lot.
I do.
You bring it up
It's good.
often.
So Pack and Video published this one, and this is actually more like I like this game a lot. Actually, the handling in this game is very cool. It's very Ridge
Yeah.
Racer in a way where there's a lot of drifting, and you sort of put your car in the drift and sort of like blast around the corner, which feels great. And it's challenging, so it's a fun game. But what I love about this is when you start up the story mode and you get into it. First of all, you pick your car, and they got like a Celica in there. They got like a Nissan GTR from that era, and then like the 300SX or whatever it looks like. So you got three choices. But after you choose your car, and you get a peek of it here in the back, if you look closely, you choose your Navi. Hard to get. So essentially, you have like 10 women to choose from, and you pick one, and then as soon as you pick one, it switches to an FMV where the camera starts at their feet and just slowly pans up to their smiling face, or they're awkwardly looking at the camera. I'm just imagining what that photo shoot must have been like for those segments. Yes. And then it just like, cool, okay, and then the race starts. And then when you lose, whichever girl you selected is typically berates you for your poor performance. Which is, this game's from 1995. That's very 1995, even in Japan, it seems.
It's kind of a continuation of the idea of Outrun, though, because if you crash your Outrun car,
that's true.
Ferrari,
that's the girl right. Will be like... She kind of beats on the driver, exactly. So it's actually kind of like that. Yeah. I found that really comical, actually. Like, just the fact that was in there, I was like, what the heck? This is so weird. But especially because it's all FMV based, right? So it's like it's not just pixel art there. But so there's that to it. But honestly, the overall game, it's a surprisingly solid Saturn racing game. Smooth frame rate, great soundtrack. The draw distance is a little short, but the visuals are still pretty nice. And what I like about it is it's a game where you're racing against different opponents, but the real challenge is actually the time limit. You have to get to the checkpoint before the time limit expires, and that is actually challenging. You really need to drive efficiently to not lose out due to the time. So between that and the drifting, it's a really fun arcade racing game. So yeah, I mean, if you're into classic Saturn games still and you're looking for some more racing action on there, I mean, I recommend it. I think it's really cool. So, and it's very cheap.
Also, it did get a update. I forget what it's called. It was like Wangan Dead Heat plus Real Range.
I haven't tried that one actually.
No, I'm not really sure what the update is. But
I might actually check that out.
Real Range. Yeah,
it's like plus Real Range.
Yeah,
I would love to know what else that includes. To be honest, actually, I should note though, as far as I know, Wangan Dead Heat actually did get a Western release, and I think it was called like Highway 2000 or something. And I just clicking on it here, oh man, it looks like they replaced. Yeah, they did. Wait, possibly did they replace the Japanese girls with like? I think they did. I just pulled it up and I'm looking at the back cover of the power release right now, and if you look at the back, if you click on that back cover and you look, it looks like they're like hanging out at the beach.
Wow. So we have to look into this.
Okay, so this just got even more interesting. Now we need to investigate. We have to look into, what does Highway 2000 have going on versus the Japanese version. So all right, so maybe if you want to play this game, you kind of got to pick based on that. All right. What's your next game?
Well, for my last pick today, I think we're doing 5. Well, if you recall a few weeks ago, or weeks now, a few episodes ago, we talked about Power Blade, and I uttered the words I will never ever own a single version of Power Blade 2.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm sad to, or am I happy? I'm not sure based on what I have to pay for this. But I now have Captain Saver Power Blade 2's Japanese version in box.
Look at that case.
Famicom. And yes, it has that beautiful
the Taito logo
little box, and it has the Taito logo engraved into the plastic. Comes with the manual, of course, and the
cartridge looks wild, doesn't it?
Yeah, this little flap that holds the manual even has the Taito logo on it.
Oh my gosh, that's supreme.
So the weird thing here too is just the form factor of the cartridge. It looks insane for a Famicom game.
Look at that.
Uh,
It's so weird.
I,
I don't even know how to. Yeah, that's bizarre looking. And that's the thing
yeah,
about
it doesn't.
Famicom is that there was no real standard cartridge. Like
No.
developers could do whatever they wanted, really.
The developers were in charge of their own manufacturing as long as they got the seal of approval, so to speak,
Yep.
the law check from
Yep.
Nintendo. So that's why you have so many different types of boxes and cartridges and all this stuff. This is very, very late for Famicom standards, late 92, by
Wow.
which time, of course, the Super Nintendo was out, or the Super Famicom was out. And
This is why it's
so,
rare.
yeah, Captain Saver. If you remember in our Power Blade episode, Power Blazer was Power Blade 1 and
That's
was
right.
completely different from Power Blade because Power Blade was conversion for the US market.
That's right.
This is just straight up the same game as Power Blade 2. So it's not as contextually interesting, but still, for me to own it is kind of surreal. And yeah, the cover art is beautiful. I have to ask Winterbauer if he did this because it looks like his art, but I cannot find
Does.
any credit for who did the box art. Because the box art, man, it's awesome.
I
I
love
love
it.
that thing.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So if it's him, I would love to have like a poster of that.
Plus, the title is just fantastic. I mean, it takes me back to
Captain Saver.
my old roommate was very frugal when it came to grocery shopping, and he would cut out coupons every week meticulously, and I always referred to him as Captain Saver.
I see. I didn't know that story, but yeah. I mean, good on him. He saved money, and I'm sure he's in a better place today.
Exactly.
So
That's what it's all about. All right, so I have my final game, and then I have a little bonus thing that's not a game that I'm going to hold up as
Oh.
well. So first of all, this is another one that you helped me acquire. You found it, and it's really cool. And I think a lot of people aren't actually familiar with this one. It's Bomberman 64. And I've told this to people, and they say, "Oh yeah, I know that game." You probably don't. So that's not to say lots of people know about this, but when Bomberman 64 is uttered, they're usually thinking of Baku Bomberman, which was
Baku Bomberman.
the 3D Bomberman game released on N64, and when it was brought to the West, it was called Bomberman 64, and that's a good game, by the way, still. But Bomberman
Very good.
64, this one only came out in Japan on N64 in 2001. So this is like the PlayStation 2 is out. GameCube is launching that same year. I mean, this is like the end of the road for N64. And what makes it so weird is that it's a pixel art game, which is not something you typically see on N64. So it's actually a beautiful 2D game. And it's actually packed with stuff. So it's got normal Bomberman, it's got like a battle game. It has some different puzzle modes in it. And it's just different modes essentially, so it's packed with lots of different types of variants on Bomberman and other puzzle games and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, to me, it's like a big final explosion of like 2D Bomberman action all packed into one
I think
cartridge.
the back of the box says as much. No, I think it says like a celebration of all types of Bomberman or something like this.
Yeah, it's it kind of does. Bomberman no tanoshisa ippai tsumata omocha bako. So that's it. Okay. So yeah,
So
it
basically,
is.
yeah, all styles of Bomberman, and
Let's look at this cover art. That's just awesome.
yeah, it's awesome. Most people do not know this, as you said, and for many years it was, I think, the unofficial kind of English title for it was the Arcade Edition, Bomberman Arcade Edition, which is not an official title,
No.
but that's what people call it to differentiate it, because it is Bomberman 64 in Japan. And I think it was developed by Ryzen, the same people who did Bloody Roar. So
Oh wow. Okay.
it's a very interesting game, and again, it was just one where I found it, and I was like, hey John, if you don't have this would be the time to get it,
A good deal.
and you did. And it's in good condition, I could see.
Yeah, it's in excellent
So,
condition. You know, even the spine isn't all crumpled, and which is often the
mhm.
case. And I love these Japanese N64 boxes.
Yes.
The US boxes kind of suck because they use like this really thin cardboard
It's
that you just
terrible.
look at it wrong and it just like crumbles in your fingers. It's really
Yeah.
really bad quality. This stuff is like more like Super NES, Super Famicom quality, and it's just a
Thick and
nice
sturdy
big sturdy boxes
cardboard.
with a plastic tray inside instead of like a paper tray, and
Yeah.
it's good stuff. So that's that. The bonus thing though I wanted to talk about is actually this thing, the Neo Geo Pad 2,
I have that one.
which I did not have. So I am a big fan of the Neo Geo CD pads, and I saw this pop up for very cheap, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get this because the Neo Geo CD pads, the clicky stick with the little it's the micro switch joystick thumbstick.
Yeah.
It feels amazing to use, as you know, and it's actually a great companion for PlayStation games and
Yeah.
PS2 games that use the D-pad. I feel. It's also really good for 2D fighting games because you can do your quarter circles. It just feels amazing to pull off quarter circles with this. You kind of get the same feedback as an actual arcade stick, but it's all driven with your
Yeah.
thumb,
Mhm.
which is neat and unusual. So it's a really cool controller to have, and I have actually been playing some games with that lately. It's also awesome for things that have like 8-way movement. Like I popped in Alundra, for instance, and I was playing around. I think that has 8-way movement. Actually, I can't. I've messed with a bunch of different games, but just general movement actually feels really good on that. And you know, the PlayStation D-pad, I always thought, as I mentioned, for fighting games, I don't think the original PlayStation
It's not
D-pad is
very good.
good. It's really bad for quarter circle moves. That's
Yeah.
why Saturn was always way ahead. This at least helps a lot with that, and just makes, honestly, playing any fighting game feels really good with this. Like even the 3D stuff, like you play like
Yeah.
Soul Edge or Soul Blade with this. I always get that confused with which one is which, even though it's kind of the same game. And Tekken and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you guys watch and see one of these things pop up, I definitely recommend picking it up because yeah, it's a great controller and it works just like it's plug and play. PS1, PS2, anything that uses the D-pad, it just works. So
It's very good. Yeah. And it came, I think originally it came bundled with KOF 98, I think, on PS2.
you might be.
Uh,
I think it was one of the KOF games. You're right.
yeah, so
This one
it's
is
a little
not,
bit
but
elusive today. It's not that easy to find it, but at the same time, I don't find them to be extremely expensive or anything. So if you see it, it's always a controller to pick up because it is
the
very
current
good.
the current going rate online seems to be around the cost of like a new controller for other modern systems. So like in the 60,
Yeah.
70 range, something like that. So
Oh, is it that much? Okay.
yeah,
Mm.
it's not that cheap. So
Hmm.
I don't think they made that many of these. So it's not like rare or anything. You can still get them, but they're not like dirt cheap. So but I do recommend it. Just like I recommend Wangan Dead Heat and
Absolutely. I mean,
all the other games as
the
well.
best pickup of this week.
Absolutely. Sorry, Captain Saber.
So,
Move over. We got
uh,
Wangan Dead Heat up in
who
here.
needs this? Uh, yeah, when it comes to controllers and fighting games, I still have unopened. I bought like a set of three Street Fighter controllers, which has this lenticular picture in the middle, and it's
Oh yeah.
the 6-button controller
Hmm.
on the front. So I never opened those, and I'm not sure if they're good, but so I kind of like these themed fighting game controllers, even though I apparently never used them. So
That's cool. All right. Well, that's actually going to do it for this episode. So, as usual, you know, hopefully you guys have enjoyed our ramblings about our random pickups this month, and perhaps you saw something that looks interesting and you might want to check out yourselves. And if you do check anything out, be sure to pop over to the Discord and let us know. Tag us, say, hey, dudes, I actually did buy Wrinkle River Story, and it's pretty wrinkleific. So, or wrinklerific, even. Uh,
Wrinkleific. Okay, that's a
Something
new
like that.
T-shirt.
Exactly.
So, and if there's any of these games that you would like us to do like a DF retro play on it,
Oh
pop a
yeah, yeah,
comment
yeah,
down there
absolutely.
and like tell us like, hey, I really want to see Brinkle the River Story or Manga and Dead Heat.
You
You know,
definitely want to see One Gun Dead Heat.
but then we have to do the comparison.
Oh yeah, then we have to get in the Western version with the Beach Babes in it. Yeah,
I'm
that's
ready.
alas, that's how it goes. All right, well, thanks for joining me on this one.
Oh, as always.
And thank you, dear patrons, for watching. I don't need to pimp the channel to anybody here, so none of this like and subscribe stuff. That's not happening here. So thank you for making it all the way to the end, and we'll talk to you next time.